Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. So today it's going to be a little bit more of a chatty video because I'm going to take you guys through the upper division Shakespeare class that I took. So if you guys didn't know, I'm a sociology major and an English minor, and for my minor, Shakespeare was actually a requirement, which surprised both me and my professor, but it's cool. I personally don't think Shakespeare should be in the English department. I think it should be in the theater drama department, but I can understand how as like an English major you would need it. A lot of English majors slash minors, I guess, end up teaching English in high school. I don't want to do that, but for those purposes it does make sense. So I actually made a journal spread and I will show you guys what this looks like in a little bit. But we read 9 plays this semester. It was like 6 of which he chose and then 3 of which we chose. So the plays that we read were Titus Andronicus, Julius Caesar, Richard III, Henry V, Much Ado About Nothing, Macbeth, The Comedy of Errors, Hamlet, and Pericles. The way the class was essentially set up is we would be assigned a play for the week, and the class only met on Mondays from 6:50 to 10, but we made an agreement where we would have no break and just go 6:50 to 9:30, and it actually worked out pretty well while we were still at school. And then when we transferred to Zoom, honestly, the class was so much easier. But each week we would get assigned a new play, we'd read it and discuss it in our journals online. And in these journals, we would talk about things that we would change about the play. So something that we just really didn't like, didn't understand, wanted to know better, or anything that was essentially lacking from the play. Then we would pick a critical passage that we completely disagreed with. So it's taking scholarly articles and making sure that they are something that we completely disagree with, or there is one specific section we don't agree with. So I actually really enjoyed the format of the class. I thought it flowed really well, and it was really interesting to see how us in a modern sense would take Shakespeare's plays and talk about what we didn't like about them and what we would fix. But also, disagreeing with critics is a lot of fun because then you're trying to justify why you think someone who is critically acclaimed is wrong. Out of these plays, I found that I was in the minority opinion, like almost always. So the plays that I didn't like, a lot of people liked, and the plays that I liked, people were like, why are we reading this? So my least favorites were Titus Andronicus, Julius Caesar, Henry V, and Richard III. Now, you're seeing a pattern. I really didn't like the histories. I didn't connect to them at all, didn't have a good time reading them. And Julius Caesar was probably the most entertaining alongside Richard III. But I don't know, something about Titus and about Henry V really just irked me. And I didn't like, whether it was I didn't like how they were taught or I didn't like my experience with it, something just didn't settle right. But on the other end are my favorites, which include Much Ado About Nothing, The Comedy of Errors, Macbeth, Hamlet, and Pericles. Now, when we first read Much Ado About Nothing, I remember I was one of the only people who really enjoyed this comedy. I thought that where everyone was saying like, okay, what's the purpose of this play? Like I agreed with the fact that there was no real purpose except to entertain, and for once that was really refreshing. When we started talking about The Comedy of Errors, it was like the exact same thing. I was having such a good time meeting these characters that were so much fun, and The Comedy of Errors is one of my favorites because of the doubling that comes in it, and like the Dromios are some of my favorite characters. I really enjoy it. I had a really good time. Macbeth is one of those that I've always enjoyed, but like because I've read it so many times, I understand it. I don't really have a hard time with it, and like I'm able to enjoy the story to an extent. I also didn't read the play this time around. I watched the movie, and I think that's kind of why I enjoyed it as much as I did, so that was cool. Next comes Hamlet, and for some reason, I absolutely love Hamlet. It's one of my favorite plays, like, of all time that I've read from Shakespeare, and I don't really understand why. I just think I justify so much of what Hamlet is feeling, and it's a lot of fun for me to read his perspective because it is really introspective. And I know so many people in the class disagreed with me. They were like, I don't know how you had such a good time reading this. I cannot stand Hamlet. I was like, bro, his literal family is in shambles and we are seeing him literally go through his demise. Like, it's great. I don't know, I had a great time reading Hamlet. I absolutely loved it. And finally, Pericles. I think this one kind of caught me by surprise, which is why I like it so much. With Pericles, this was one of the first times I have felt such a deep emotional connection to a character, and like all I wanted was for things to go well for him. That's literally all I could have asked for. I just wanted Pericles to live happily with his wife and his daughter. I wanted things to go well for him, and I didn't want so many things to be thrown in his direction. Like, he seemed like such an honorable man and a man of virtue, and I respect Pericles' character so much more than Shakespeare's typical macho man. You know, the one that's always like swords out, ready to fight just about anybody that comes up to him. Oh my gosh, I just enjoyed it so much, and I loved seeing a female character that, like, yeah, although she does get picked up into slavery at some point, it's not like the female characters in Titus Andronicus and in Julius Caesar where they just get like thrown to the side. That's something I learned, that Shakespeare doesn't like women, and you can fight me on this, but none of the women that I've read from seem to have any sort of brain or any sort of, quote, virtue. Like, we see that kind of from Margaret's character, like, as she's like a stronger woman. She's fairly like intimidating when it comes to her storyline, and that's from Richard III, if I'm not wrong. But just to see a woman be characterized as just so good was so refreshing for me. So with that being said, if you couldn't tell, my least favorite genres are history and tragic retellings, essentially. I don't think they're technically called tragic retellings, but like, I don't like the histories and I don't like tragic retellings. My favorite genres do include comedies, dramas, and tragic comedies. If I'm not wrong, Pericles is considered a tragic comedy, so I guess you can see why I liked it so much. Things like Romeo and Juliet would be considered a tragedy, but like, I'll read it, I'll enjoy it. So some of the comedies that I actually really want to read are All's Well That Ends Well, Love's Labour's Lost, Midsummer Night's Dream, yes I know I haven't read it yet, Twelfth Night, and Two Gentlemen of Verona. And some of the tragedies that I would like to read next include King Lear, Othello, Romeo and Juliet, which would be a reread for me, and Antony and Cleopatra. So am I slightly disappointed that we didn't get to more plays? Yeah, for sure. It was because my professor would spend like 2 class periods on one play, and so you can kind of see how in the beginning of the semester I was not having a good time. I did not want to talk about Titus for 2 weeks, did not want to talk about Richard III for 2 weeks. And did we do that? Yeah, so we wasted 2 weeks that could have been for a different play, so that kind of sucked. But otherwise, I really did enjoy the class. I enjoyed the format of it, and I really enjoyed being able to get exposed to Shakespeare and kind of make my own opinion of it, and it not be like, no, you're wrong, this is how you're supposed to interpret it, or going through these critical passages and being able to find people and say like, no, you are wrong. I think you messed up your definition of this play. Makes it, I don't know, just all the more worth it. So I do have some favorite lines that I would like to read to you. These first 2 are from Richard III. The first one is, "To take is not to give," and the second is, "Bloody thou art, bloody will be thy end. Shame serves thy life, and doth thy death attend." This next one is from Much Ado About Nothing, and it's, "Friendship is a constant in all other things, save in the office and affairs of love." These next 2 are from Hamlet. "Which dreams indeed are ambition, for the very substance of ambition is merely the shadow of a dream," and "Words without thoughts never to heaven go." And I remember reading that so vividly. That line sticks out to me from the play so vividly, and I can't understand why. I just know I really like it. And of course, the last one is from Macbeth, and it's one of the most like iconic lines, and it's, "Stars, hide your fires, let not light see my black and deep desires." So something that I also wanted to mention is that the midterm for this class, because technically I was like really the only black sheep in the class, in the sense that I wasn't an English major or a theater major, we had to recite the "to be or not to be" monologue. And for someone who is not in the performing arts, I mean, like, I still did it and I got through it. Did I perform it dramatically? Absolutely not. Did I get through it? Oh yeah. Did I ace my midterm? Absolutely. So I think in terms of like what the midterm could have been, like an exam or whatever, it wasn't. And I do appreciate that fact. Man, like, I was so out of place. I'm a sociology major and an English minor, reciting "to be or not to be." I don't know. It was such a weird situation for me. I mean, like, the class clearly had a good time doing it, even though we were all nervous, but like, you could tell it came to others a little bit easier. I had a lot of fun. I stepped out of my comfort zone both in my reading and within that performance. And our final for this class is to basically culminate all of the critical passages and why we disagree with them. And then at the beginning of that is to kind of understand exactly what we gained from all of these plays, whether our opinion of Shakespeare changed, whether our taste changed. And I do have to say, everything that I've kind of summed up for you in this video is the beginning of my paper. I found myself really enjoying the comedies and the dramas more than I thought I would. I found myself really invested in a lot of the characters and some of the storylines. This is what my spread looks like. They're kind of listed in order of least favorite to favorite plays, and everything that I told you is journaled right here. I actually had a lot of fun making this spread, and I didn't think I was going to, but this was so much fun to take something super academic and turn it into something that's very much so like a BookTube style thing. I don't know. You don't hear a lot of people talk about Shakespeare in such a fun way, and so for me to have a class that was just this much fun and just this cool, like, was such an incredible experience, and it makes me want to go and read the other Shakespeare plays, like I said, just for the sake of reading them. So my hope in the future is to be able to actually go and watch a live performance of Shakespeare, because reading it definitely does not do it justice. You need to see it live. I've watched a good amount of the movies, so I think I'm going to try and stay on that path when it comes to some of the bigger ones. But yeah, I just want to be able to experience more of these plays and understand exactly what Shakespeare is made of. Will I do them assignment style? God, no. Will I absolutely enjoy them because of that? Absolutely. And you know, I might DNF a play or two. We'll see. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have read and agree with my opinions on any of these plays, let me know. And if there are any plays that you think I should read first, please let me know. I would love to get some recommendations as to where to start aside from my lists. But that is it for today's video. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and until then, I'll talk to you on Instagram.